Okay, the final technique I want to look at this week is how to create selections using alpha channels. All right, so the channels palette is usually located next to the layers panel. If it's not, you can open it through the window menu. Um, You'll find channels. All right, now on an RGB image, there are three channels, red, green, and blue. So for each color that makes up the image, it has its own separate channel. And then there's a composite channel, which is all three of them together. Now, Photoshop displays these channels in black and white. So if I just click on the red channel, it's going to show it in black and white. The green channel is going to be slightly different. The blue channel is going to be slightly different. All right. Now, you can set this up so you actually see the colors. But this is just the way that Photoshop communicates where those different saturations of colors are in your image. All right. So what we want to do is add a little bit of sky. This sky is kind of washed out and drab, so I want to add a different sky. So I'm going to go to my layers panel. I'm actually going to hide. I can close this layer group and just click on the group itself. I'm going to hide Nick Cage right there. So all we have is the city. And then I'm going to go to Sky Image, and I'm going to bring that over into my Nick image. Now this is a great time to save if you have not done so. So I'm going to go to Save As and save this as Selections to your desktop or your flash drive, wherever you save your files. That's okay. Now, I have my sky image here. I'll go ahead and name it since we're getting in good habits, naming things. I'm just going to put it up here. It doesn't really matter. We can change the positioning later, okay? And then I'm going to make it invisible and select the city layer. So the city layer, that's all we want to be visible. And then I'm going to go to the channels panel. All right, and what I'm going to do by clicking through these, I am looking for the one that has the most contrast. So there's not a clear winner here, but with blue, the trees are a lot darker and the sky is pretty white. So I'm going to go with that one. Now you never want to mess with the channels, the original channels in an image. You're going to really screw up the color. So you always want to copy channels if you're going to work with them. So I'm going to use the blue channel. I'm going to create a copy by dragging it down to the new channel icon at the bottom of the channels panel. And you see you get blue copy right here. So this is what I'm going to deal with. I'll leave these other channels alone. What I want to do is try and get a completely black and white image where everything that I don't want to be in my selection is black and everything that I do want to be in my selection is white. There are several ways to do that. You can go to Image Adjustments. You can use Levels and start to bring the highlights and shadows closer together. A quicker way that I use sometimes is going to Threshold. I go to Image Adjustments and click on Threshold. It automatically converts my image to black and white. And by dragging the slider, I can choose how much black or how much white is in that image. So what I want to try and do is drag it all the way until almost everything is black that I want to be excluded from my selection. If I go too far, you're going to see I'm going to fill up the sky with black too. So that's not what I want. I want it to be pretty close. So that's about as good as I can get it. Threshold level around 246 is pretty good. I still have some little white areas, little specks, but I'm going to deal with that in a minute. So I click OK. Now to deal with these white specks, what I'm going to do is actually paint on this alpha channel. This is called an alpha channel, and basically what it is it's a way to save selections along with your file, so you can open them up and access them later. There's another way to save them, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But for now, I'm going to click on my brush, and I'm going to make black my foreground color. I'm going to get a pretty good sized brush, and take the hardness up to 100%, and then I'm going to go through here and paint all of these little white specky areas. All right. Now you want to be careful to not to mess up your the integrity of your line around your selection, but just to get these specks in the interior of your black shape. All right, get that right there. Through here. That last line. And that looks pretty good. If you have any dark areas in your white selection, you can just switch to white and then paint over those dark areas. But that's pretty good. So that's what we're looking for in this particular case. So now I can click back on the composite channel to bring my image back, and I can go to my layers panel and bring the sky layer, make it visible again. So to access that as a selection, you'll see it's still there in your channels panel. You can rename it if you want to. Well, I'm not going to worry about that. All you have to do is go up to the select menu. Down at the bottom, you'll see something that says load selection. When I do that, I go to channel, and you'll see that it says blue copy. That's the alpha channel that we created. So I click on blue copy and click OK, and there you go. It automatically makes that selection. So in this case, we probably could have made that selection a lot quicker with the quick selection tool, but I want you to understand how this technique works, because it comes in handy, especially in certain cases. So whenever I get that selection active, I'm going to select the sky layer. I'm going to click on Create Layer Mask, and it's automatically going to fill in my sky there. Now, if you zoom in, you're going to see that there's a little bit of a white halo around my buildings. That's not really what I want to do. So in this case, I'm going to go up to the filter menu, down to Other, and I'm going to choose maximum. And by taking that up to 3 or 4 pixels, I can get rid of most of that halo. So I'm going to leave it at 3, click OK, and then zoom out, and that looks pretty good. All right, now if I want to reposition the sky, you just unlink the mask and the layer thumbnail, click on the layer thumbnail, move it over so I get kind of that lighter portion of the sky there, and then I can bring back Mr. Cage, and that's pretty much it. So that's all the different selection techniques. Now, one more thing I'm going to show you doesn't really have to do with selections, but this is just kind of a way to, you always want to look at your image and see if there's anything that kind of stands out. And to me, the fact that all of this stuff is really in sharp focus is kind of a giveaway that it's been photoshopped. And what most photos have a somewhat shallow depth of field, where some of this stuff in the background is a little blurry. And so I want to do that real quick. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to hide Nick again, and I'm going to select the sky layer, and I'm going to hold down Shift, Option, Command, E. 4 different keys. I call it the super shortcut. On a PC, that's going to be Shift, Alt, Control, E. So Shift, Option, Command, E on a Mac, and it creates a composite layer of all the visible layers. All right? Because I want to deal with the sky and the city as one layer. So now what I'm going to do is blur this layer that I just created. So I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and a level about 4.8. That actually looks pretty good. I can take it down a little bit to 4 or so. Just want a real subtle blur. You don't want it to be super noticeable, but you want it to be just a little blurry in the back. So this is what I'm looking at. So now what I'm going to do is mask this layer, add a blank mask, and then get my brush, make black my foreground color, and I'm going to make my brush real big, probably like 2,000 pixels or so. And then take the hardness all the way down to 0, maybe even make it bigger. I'm going to make it about almost 3,000 pixels. All right, so what I want to do is paint on the edges here, and you'll see how it brings that sharpness back. So I'm masking the blurred layer, letting the sharp layer show through. And I'm doing that for the areas that are closer to us. All right, so it's more of a gradual blur. So I'll paint over the street, and you can look at my mask over here. So this only part that's really visible of the blurred layer is the part right back here. So it creates that sort of sense of depth. Okay, and if I wanted to, I could even lighten this up just a little bit to get a little atmospheric perspective. I don't know how that's going to look, but I'll give it a shot. It's not bad. I don't think I'm going to worry about that just now. So now I can bring back Mr. Cage, and there's my image right there. So this week we've looked at a few different selection techniques. You're not going to use them 80% of the time, but when you do need them, it's really useful to have that knowledge. All right, I'll see you next time.